us on the mic, talking life and what's alike. Middle age, it's quite the ride, finding joy and chasing pride. Career dreams and daily grind, funny moments that we find. Letting go of yesterday, making paths along the way. Middle age.
I love that music.
Welcome back to the 5 people. I think we went from 3 to 5, maybe.
That's almost doubling.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's significant. Maybe by 20. Maybe at the new year we'll be up to 10.
Yeah, right on. I like it. That's a good goal.
It's good to see
All
you,
right,
Trav.
So, you too, buddy. Welcome to the Tim and Trav podcast. As a reminder for those who have been here before, and an intro to maybe our 6th and 7th listener, getting bold. The Tim and Trav podcast is basically about life in our 40s and transitions and everything in between.
We are here to solve all of life's great mysteries.
Oh, man. That's a big goal for 7 people. So let's jump in, man. What do you got? Hair care and product reviews. Anything?
Okay, nothing new on this end, clearly, for those who are watching the video. But I do want to just real quickly point out a fashion trend that is growing amongst young people. My son, my middle guy, being one of them. Have you seen, and I don't know if this is happening in Ohio, but the it's sort of like the hair just above the forehead that people are really letting that part of their hair grow. Have you seen that, Trav?
Yeah, they look like llamas to me, or alpacas.
That's a great way of putting it. That is the style. My middle guy is doing all of that. He's living it up right now. He's got the hair to do it. And it sort of drives me insane. I feel kind of wrong saying, or like why am I letting this bother me? I don't know if I'm jealous. Maybe deep down I'm jealous.
I'm a little jealous. Yeah, I'm a little jealous, to be honest.
So he's got this great bush of hair right on the, it's just insane. And I don't know what to do about it, but he doesn't want to cut it. I'm kind of just going through it.
I mean, you don't really have much of an option, right? Like you can't shave his head in his sleep, so.
Well, maybe I'll have to.
But what does he use up all of Christie's product, or
he's not going with the product? No. He's just, he likes to shower in the morning so that he can take care of it. I don't recall doing that as a young boy, but maybe I did and I just forgot.
Well, I had hair down to my shoulders. I was trying in college, but it never quite worked. It was a bad luck. But the beauty of it is now that all these kids with phones and stuff, they'll have pictures galore. I think there's like 2 pictures of me with long hair.
Oh, cool.
That exist.
Well, we have to track those down. I'm going to talk to your parents about that. Let's keep moving. Did we get any listener comments? I know that a couple came in.
Yeah, actually, good segue there. Speaking of parents, Nancy, my mom, is a former high school teacher, retired. And she wrote in a very nice message. And the one part I wanted to pull out was she said when she was teaching a career ed class, which was something I took but from a different teacher, she said, anyway, when I was teaching that class in the 1990s, we would always start by telling students that they would probably have 3 or more careers in their lifetime. Not jobs, but careers. And I was always amazed by this data, as my generation, for the most part, had one career, maybe several jobs, but all in one field. And if you look at the 6 parents represented by the 3 of you, that's pretty true. The 3 of you being Joel, who was our 103 guest. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really cool in terms of how things have changed and how they'll probably continue to change. And I think it was a really cool feedback, not only that we all represent that exact data that she saw, being presented to high school students like us in the 90s, but also, what will it be like for the alpaca-looking kids, when they're in the workforce?
Yeah, I mean, they may be switching every year.
Yeah, I know, right? What about you? Did you see any feedback?
We did, yeah. So a couple people had reached out with some really, really interesting feedback. I'll read the first one. This is from Matt. Matt's a listener in Vermont. Matt said, "Tell Trav I'll pay him to read a book to me. Guy has a great voice. It's too bad that skinny nerd keeps chiming in." Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. No one has ever complimented my voice. I'm glad somebody likes it. That makes one of us.
Who do you think he was referring to as the skinny nerd?
Probably Joel. I mean...
you're right. You're right. I didn't think about it that way. I thought he was making a slam on me, but
I'm
that
sure you would never.
I think I was misinterpreting. So Trev, that's quite a compliment to you. What a nice compliment to your voice, which you have no control
Very
over.
nice. I was gonna say, yeah, that's very nice. Now I feel like I can't top that. Like I feel like we should just retire this and go out on a high.
Well, you
For
remember
me, anyway.
Luann's comment about the slippers and the fire.
I know, right?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we're getting up there. I might have to
Yeah.
print these out and frame them.
All right, I got one
What was
more.
your other feedback?
Yeah, this is from Ryan. Ryan actually is in Madagascar, so we have international listeners, which is pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Ryan listened to a couple episodes and said, Apple has really scraped the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. Also Spotify as well as other places.
Trev, now may be a good time to let everybody know that you can listen to the podcast on other channels, right? You mentioned Spotify,
Yeah.
YouTube,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yep. YouTube if you want to see our mugs and the skinny nerd. And actually, we welcome any and all feedback. You can either leave feedback in the notes as reviews, which are great. This is our first time actually asking people to like and subscribe. That actually
Yeah.
hurt to say.
Oh, come on. We're not exactly sure why we're saying that, but, we've heard other people say it, and we think that
Yeah.
it's probably the right thing to do. So please do like and subscribe, and let's keep the
Yep.
momentum going.
And then also, if you want to send in a question or feedback of any kind, timandtravpodcast@gmail.com. I don't think Tim has the login information, but I'm sure I've emailed it to him a few times.
Those,
But timandtravpodcast
Yeah.
@gmail.com. Please send stuff our way.
for the record, those will definitely be reviewed and read by Trav. I have no idea how to access that account. Okay.
It's all good. It's probably
right.
for the best.
You're right about that. Let's jump in. Awesome wife moment. What do you got?
I have a really good one. So I've referenced a few times that my wife works in fundraising and all things nonprofit, and she's exceptionally good at it. Not that I'm biased, of course, but we had a fundraiser for a group here called Bay Arts. We had a fundraiser, their annual fundraiser called Moon Dance, and Kristen helped to organize the actual fundraising via Rally Up and stuff. If you've ever been to a fundraiser like that, it's like you walk around and you have people scan QR codes, and it's to enter in the raffles and so forth. And it's an awesome, awesome way to pull in quite a bit of money if you're good at it. And Kristen just happens to be really good at it. But my awesome wife moment is not so much the amount of money she raised, but also just watching how she kind of worked the crowd and went up to perfect strangers and asked them to not only donate money, but pull out their phones, scan a QR code, and give to this benefit, which, it's a great benefit, but asking people for money is like top 5 least favorite things to do in my life. And she walked up there with grace, humility, obvious beauty, and was just like, hey, you should really donate to this. And I watched from a distance, as I didn't want to be the creepy guy next to her, as she just very, very effectively got people to pull out their phone. And we're talking different generations of folks, right?
That's
there are
cool.
some people who kind of forget they have a phone, and then there are some people who are glued to it. And she approached every group with the exact amount of, accessibility and getting them to do it. And it was one of those I don't know if you ever do this with Christy, but sometimes I'll look across the room and I'm like, man, I'm glad she can do that because I cannot. And that was one of those things.
That is impressive. I'm really very impressed by that. I'm kind of shocked that she didn't ask you to assist.
You shouldn't be shocked by that.
I wonder
at
what
all.
would have happened if she asked you to try it just once. Would you have done it?
I think she's smarter than that. I mean, I
would
would
love
look.
to
I would
see
give
you
it my
try to
best
do
effort.
that. Yeah.
I would give it my best effort, but it's probably going to sound like a television pitch. And that's not gonna work.
I bet you'd be better than you actually think. I think you're need to give yourself some more credit.
Thanks, buddy.
No, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
that.
You're welcome. Maybe on another episode you can pitch me.
Ooh, all right.
And we'll
That's a
see.
good
We'll see
challenge.
if I donate to your cause. Very cool and good for her for maintaining this commitment to these organizations in need. I think it's awesome.
What about
Thank
you?
for
What's
sharing
your
that.
awesome?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Christy, mine's short and sweet. So it was kind of funny. Christy attended a march in New York City a couple weeks ago through her work. It was labor related. So really cool day. She took Quinn, our daughter, with her. Myself and the boys. We had something else going on, I think, so we couldn't make it. But so she took a photo while she was there. It was kind of like this. It was a cloudy day, and got a great picture of Quinn in New York City, they had blocked off streets, so it's just kind of a cool shot. And she put the photo when she got back onto her wallpaper of her phone. So it's just Quinn there on the phone. And so at some point, shortly thereafter, the boys discover her phone, right? Because the phones sit on counters and stuff like that. And they are so upset that the photo is Quinn and not them. And so, Christy, I would have been, if that came to me, I would have been like, look, guys, like, let's talk this out, whatever, blah, blah. Christy is so sharp. Immediately, she goes, no, wait. I have had a photo, and this is true. She's had a photo of our family on that phone for months, right? All 5 of us. Like this beautiful photo. She goes to both of them. Not once have either of you said to me, thank you so much for putting up that photo of our family, right? Like not once. But the moment she changes the photo, right, they both are livid that it's not them. So she just put it right back in their face, lovingly, obviously. But I wouldn't have even thought of that, So I just really had this. I just admired her quick thinking and her reasonability through that whole thing. I thought it was really funny. So yeah. She cracks me up, and I always count my blessings for having such an awesome partner.
You know what? I think that actually is a really good look into how she can handle your BS. Like she's got that right there. She's like, oh, no. You two little tiny Tims. No. We're not. No, that's not how this goes.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. I never thought about it that way.
You've actually prepared her for that.
Maybe
moment.
I've trained. Yeah. Maybe through I don't know what the right word is, but yeah, maybe she's just been trained over all these years to.
Yeah, I like it.
Interesting twist. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. This is really making me feel good.
Yeah. Something awesome you've seen, read, experienced, etc. recently.
You want me to dive in first?
Yeah, go for it.
I haven't seen it, but my mother-in-law recently, she asked me to help her. She wants to buy a new TV, and I think it's called the Frame TV. Yeah. Have you heard about this? The Frame?
Yeah, they're sweet. Yeah.
So she walked into a friend's house a week or so ago, and she noticed this beautiful painting on the wall that it was in a nice frame that also happened to be their TV. I had no idea. Right. So she has this TV. She's thinking about replacing it with the frame. What kind of intrigued me about it, I think it's great. Right. Like, I think it's a great idea. She said it looks very real. What took people so long to put that together? Right. Like, I've had a flat screen TV for a long time. I don't think I've ever thought to myself while it's sitting there, gosh, I wish that was a painting.
Instead of just a black box up there.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. It's over her fireplace. It's mounted on the wall. It's this big black blank box.
Yeah.
Some alliteration
like
for
it.
you. So she brought that to my attention. I haven't done any research on it yet, but I'm gonna look into it for her. I'm not gonna buy it for myself, but I just thought it was kind of cool, and I was kind of surprised that we're this far down the road, and that hasn't really, as far as I'm aware, that hasn't been an item on the market up to this point.
Yeah, it's super cool. I also like the fact that it's I know it's called the Frame or whatever it's called, but it has Frame in the name. But I also like the fact that they actually have like a wood frame to it. It's not just like what's inside of it. It's like, oh, okay, so even when it's there as a television, and you're using it for its normal purpose or whatever, it actually does look like a frame. I don't know why nobody's really done that in the past either. Like, obviously, when we grew up, there were those old wood box things that were like a piece of furniture that weighed 10,000 pounds. But, like, I agree, they're pretty cool looking.
Well, my goal with this whole thing, Trav, is that if I help her set it up, I probably will have the the login code and user access, and I plan to just put a bunch of images of myself up there.
There you go. Like the Tim and Trav podcast logo is the usual.
That's
like who needs Van Gogh when you've got our
That's not a bad idea. I just want her to walk into her house and see this like huge image of me staring back at her.
I mean, who wouldn't love that? That's not at all nightmare fuel.
I'll be smiling.
It doesn't help. I'll jump in with mine.
Yeah, please do.
Recently discovered, actually by way of one of our 3 listeners, Chris, your brother, Suno.com, Suno.com, and it uses AI technology to create songs from prompts that you write in. And if you have a need to entertain a 10-year-old with music creation that requires little to no skill, it is really, really fun. My son and I sat with it, so thank you for to Chris for this, but we sat with it for a few minutes and came up with like 5 different songs. And we were cracking up because AI, obviously it's just like an agent within our computers that are watching us constantly, but they spit out some of the most hilariously goofy songs that, I could never do as a wannabe musician. So I just thought it was really fun and it was really cool. And actually it has some really good applications just in real life too. It sounds like AI, don't get me wrong. It doesn't sound like, Michael Bublé's in your computer or anything, but I don't know why I chose him, but it's really cool. It's a really fun little tool to use, and it's kind of a good example of what the future probably holds too. So.
And I'm going to add to that, not just funny and humorous, but also sentimental.
Yeah,
I had an experience
sure.
where a song was put together for a family member of mine on a milestone birthday, and people were tearing up.
Really?
Yeah, I was almost tearing up. It was very sweet. The words were very sweet, the lyrics that were put together. But we all had to take a moment and pause and recognize that a robot was making us cry.
That's how they're going to win.
I mean, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Cool thing. Suno.com, SUNO.com if you're...
It is cool. You're right. It's super fun and super fun for kids. I agree with you.
All right. Should we jump into our sponsors?
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few. I'm going to take a nap while you play these.
All right, so thank you for that.
That was great.
Tim, you brought us a very interesting and intriguing guest. Would you be so kind as to introduce them?
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into great detail because I want to save it for him. He's an awesome dude, a good friend of mine from my local community here in East Brunswick, Yusuf, who is originally from Nigeria and just a tremendous guy with incredible amounts of talent. So really looking forward to bringing him on and hearing more about his journey and especially as it relates to his career, because he's done some amazing stuff and he continues to do incredible stuff in his current role. So let's bring him in. All right, this is great. So it's great to have Yusuf Oni here, who's become a new recent friend of mine, and I'm really honored and excited to bring him in. He's just an amazing guy and has a whole heck of a lot of interesting experience. And Trav, I think it's going to be a great conversation. So Yusuf, welcome to our very prestigious podcast.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. I think as much as I make fun, as we make fun of each other and we discuss, I think there is some seriousness to it. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I feel the same way, and as you know, and as we've discussed, one of our goals for Trav and I is to honor the humor in life, but then also to honor the great things that go on too, and that's really what we're trying to accomplish here with this podcast. So I want to start by asking you a very important question that has been weighing on me for quite some time, and that is, how does it feel to be the second best looking guy in East Brunswick?
It hurts, but the only solace that I have, is that I have people like you behind me, so it's okay.
Oh,
there we go.
Ouch.
I like him already.
You did a great job with that one. All right, let's jump in. So Yusuf, can you tell us a little bit more about your current profession and maybe share a little bit, in a condensed version of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that I can share, at least, in a way that I think can matter. So today, so I work for a large pharmaceutical company, where I'm involved in development of drug, because my background is in engineering, which I'll touch upon in a little bit. I'm involved in the design and the development of the packaging options, that are used, for drugs. So in the most simplistic way, if you were to think about making Tylenol or a tablet or even a drug, that you take in that you get injected with, at the hospital. When you make those drugs, they have to be in some sort of containers. It seems very trivial from the outside that you can just put Tylenol in a bottle and that you leave it on your shelf for 2 years and nothing goes on. There typically might be interaction between the Tylenol again, using Platinum as an example, I hope this is not like a
No, it's
commercial
fine.
for them,
No.
It's a good
advertisement
example.
for them.
Yeah.
But there are certain different nuances and interactions that can occur
Hmm.
between the container that you use and between the drug that you're having. Mostly, it can go from something as simple as that, like a vial, plastic vial or glass vial, and it can get to something as complicated as what we call an auto-injector device, right? So think of an insulin pen, and then think of something more exotic than that, So because my company, works on a host of different drugs, so I work in designing those devices. So something can be as simple as, again, simple like a vial, but it can be much more complicated as a device. So that's what I do. On the other side, I'm also a professor at a big university, in New Jersey here, where I teach in the biomedical engineering department. So as you can imagine, it's similar to what I do at work, where you're creating devices that are used in medicine.
Mm.
So those are the major things that I do. How did I get here?
Yeah.
I wanted to pursue medicine when I was younger, but I realized I could not face blood. Sounds very, very, very crazy, but I couldn't, and from my perspective, I really, really wanted to be involved in medicine. So I started looking to see what can I do to help medicine if I can't be a doctor. And at the time, many years ago, without disclosing my age or aging myself, many years ago, a lot of the researchers that are there in medicine, most of them, they are typically chemical engineers. Um, and the reason why is that the study of the equations that are used in chemical engineering have been adapted, to the study of the motion in the body, because chemical engineering looks at fluid mechanics, fluids running in pipelines, whether it's petroleum or even in your house. Um, and that's plumbing processes or fluid mechanisms. They are analogous to the motion of blood in veins and capillaries in the body. And so you can use equations that are developed, for those fluid mechanics, apply some body limitations to them, and then use them in the body to predict movement of blood, movement of flow, how drug gets in, how you inject stuff. And so I was very excited about that. And so that was the reason why I studied chemical engineering as an undergrad. And then I pursued, mechanical and aerospace engineering, as for my doctorate degree, because uh, the school that I went to, there's an opportunity for me to combine not just the chemical engineering aspect that I just described to you, but also the mechanical part, which is the design piece. So if you think about helping medicine, and you understand the chemistry and the biology of the body, can you create a device that can be used appropriately? So that's how I really get to where I am today, in a nutshell.
So I have a question.
Yes.
You're obviously incredibly smart and highly educated.
Am I?
Why in the world do you spend any of your
Yes.
free time with Tim?
Oh, well,
Um,
can I
so
answer that?
it's not your question. Okay, so there are many answers to that question, many different answers.
We don't have
So
to go into it.
yeah, so the most important answer is that I have no choice. So
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
but Tim is an incredible guy, and I think one of the things that got us together, where we started talking about a lot of the things, that we found that we have a lot of things in common, not just outside of what we do, when it comes to having that intent to want to bring value. So everything that I talked about, there is a north star that direct me, and that is bringing value to people. That's frankly what it is. And so when you meet people that have similar values, where they want to bring value to people, however that may be, then you get very excited, with that, and then you
Sure.
just naturally just get together. And I think that's why Tim and I sort of like connect. And he's working at my alma mater, and I think there's always one thing or the other that's just getting us together. Our kids are playing
Yeah.
soccer together, so don't worry, Tim is a good guy. So
Unfortunately, I have
We
to agree with you. It's fine.
we had a great connection, and I agree with Yusuf wholeheartedly. I mean, I immediately, when I met him, I knew that this guy is focused on community wellness, right? And he's just inherently driven to see people do and be well. And he embodies that in everything that he does. And so every time I'm with him, I feel motivated and inspired. And I'm always just overwhelmed with the level of intelligence, though. I feel like such a fool when I'm around him because I can't keep up with anything he's saying. So,
Oh wow. I'm
it's
blushing.
true, man.
I didn't think I could blush on my body, man. I'm blushing here.
So Yusuf, tell us a little bit more about.
Tell my wife that. Tell my wife that. When you see her next time.
Listen, I'd be happy to. I'd be happy
Okay.
to.
All
But
right.
you're a busy guy, man. I mean, like you have a lot going on. You're a professor. You have a full-time job. You're heavily engaged with your organization. That is like this is a global organization, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how difficult is it for you to manage all those? And you're a dad, right? I mean, you got kids.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how do you manage everything that's on your plate?
I don't know because my wife is always mad at me that I don't have time. Um, I don't know. Frankly, I said I posed the same question to you not long ago, right? So like, where do you get your energy from? I think ultimately it's really what is it that is driving you. And for me, I think fundamentally the thing that I see is that life is too short, and so it's too short to be little. So if I have an opportunity to be able to do the things that I feel that I want to do, then I think I should take advantage of that very quickly because I don't have a lot of time. And I will give it a very personal example here. When I was in grad school, right? So then I got diagnosed, with cancer. So I was doing research to solve cancer, and then I got diagnosed with cancer. And for me, at the time, it was a big deal, because it wasn't something that obviously, nobody usually planned for this. And so when you're very young, you feel like the whole world is falling. So one of the things that really took me back was uh, I wasn't as motivated as much anymore. I mean, not many people know that because I'm externally I'm still smiling, because naturally some of us fall into this gap of always bringing smile to people. And so as a result, we don't necessarily want them to see, our weaknesses. There are many times when I would go away from the university and I would go to a place where it's like a pond, and I'll just go there to cry my eyes out because I was really
Mm,
scared.
mm,
But then I'll come back home, and just pretend like, all is well, right? So there is always that. And so I felt like at the time that uh, I just wasn't motivated. Then my friends, in school, they started taking the classes, they started taking their exams. And as they were taking their exams, their qualifying exam, the PhD exams, I, I felt like I was letting go. And so I wanted to, I was like, if I have very little time, then I need to be very efficient, with it. And I need to actually do whatever it is that I feel like I will be able to do, very quickly. So that get me going. And I think that has been some of my motivation, factor, right? So completed a PhD degree, at Princeton University in about 3.5 years. Normally, it would have taken, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I was there for 4 years, and I wasn't away from the school, for a few months. So I came back, really fast, to really get everything out. And then because of that, I've always been involving myself in one thing or the other. I just tend, so I can't tell you, that there is something that is powering it. It's just that when you have a North Star, which is bringing value to people, any opportunities that are there, you always want to find a way to get yourself involved with it. Now, I just talked to you about, the board of education, wanting to, it's really about bringing value. It's that, what can I do? I know I have this skill. I know I have this, this value. If I can, it's knowledge gain they're not giving out is wasted knowledge. And that knowledge can be in various forms. So for me, if I have an ability and I have something and I'm not giving it out, I feel like I'm wasting it. And so that's the reason that's what's really driving it. I can't really explain.
That's more motivation than I think I've ever heard from anybody. That's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
it's fascinating, man. I mean, with everything that you have going on, when you look back on on your career, because you have a very interesting story as well, right? You're originally from Nigeria,
Yeah.
living here now, obviously raising a family here now. But when you look back on sort of like, as I shared with you, this season is largely on like career, it's on work, it's on vocation and what that
Yeah.
means. were there points in your life that stand out to you at this point that really sort of shifted maybe either the way you look at things or the person you are today?
Yeah, I think I've told you the story, right? So in terms of my the the health, the health issue.
Sure.
I mean,
That was huge.
frankly, I don't know if you and I spoke about this. I said if I have all the money in the world and I can do whatever I want, so I did tell you that what I will be building is orphanages, right? So I think that will be, and at some point, in my life, I realized very quickly, when you live through poverty, or when you come from, not really, rich family, and you have friends, and that are, when you're growing up, that you really are suffering, right? So, or at least, do not have enough. You start to see things, differently. So I think fundamentally the way that I was raised, in Nigeria and where I grew up, if I tell you like the city that I grew up from, and when I tell people, they'll be like, how are you like this? You can't be this posh, like it's either you're a fake person from that place or you're claiming a place that you're not from. But ultimately, I think poverty sort of like highlights certain things to me. And I saw that it's not just about, you can be poor, but the poorest are really people that don't even have people to look up to, who are the orphans. You just give them food, shelter, clothing, and you expect them to just be satisfied. And so for me as an academic, one of the things that I always aspire to is to either build an orphanage or build an academic institution that would serve orphanages, where students can come there and actually, and I can build a robust one, again, because of my experience. Where students can come there, from the various orphanages that you're serving, they can learn and they can decide that they can go to high school there and be willing, or at least aspire to want to go to school at MIT or any of these, top schools, Princeton. I should probably say Princeton, not MIT.
Yeah.
I'm a Princetonian, so, aspire, to go to all of these top schools, and I don't think we are there today. I think, some orphanages are trying to do it, but how can you create something that's sustainable? So that is what ultimately is my goal or my aspiration in life, to actually be able to, and that's really what, and it's the poverty, and the various folks that I've somewhat interacted with, as I go through my career, that I continue to see these as something that's in need, and I think I can work with. So that I would say will be what has changed me. And when I when I got diagnosed, and I was diagnosed in the US, I felt like it probably may have been a different story, right? So if I was in a different place, so that's even more fire, in me. I think it's the combination of financial, insolvency, or versus, and the medical aspect. Those are the things that I try to combine. And as an academia, I think that's where I can bring the value.
That's amazing. I do have a question. You brought up your origin, and it's so fascinating to me to listen to people and how they came to be who they are, all through different circumstances and so forth. I think that's one of the things that makes us all so great. But I have a question for you. Now that you're kind of at the stage in your career that you are, and you're obviously educating others to do similar things, what would you say if you were standing in front of like your high school age or your college age self? What would you tell college age Yusuf about, like, what would you say to him?
At the risk of being grounded, of being humble, you know. So when I was in school, I always read to to know, not to pass. Right. So, and there's a very important difference there. Right? So when a kid, I have students in my class today, that they study, they just study to pass the exam. And once they pass, they move to the next level. That knowledge they had in the previous semester or the previous year is useless because they've just studied it to pass. And so when they get to the next year, and I'm telling them that you need this prerequisite for you to be able to pass, and I'm expecting that because they have the prerequisite, they understand what it is that we're going to talk about.
Sure.
They can't figure that out. And so, when I'm advising high school students, and I do this quite often, my advice to them is always, when you study to know and not to pass. I understand, that the grades are important and that the grades ultimately can shape on, where you go, which school you go to, which school you don't go to, which on the side note, I have some qualms with, right? So I think the students make the school. I don't think the school make the student. There are excellent students that have gone to schools that are no named, for lack of better words, quote unquote, that ultimately you see them, actually showing up, in ways that are masterful. I used to, you threw me a curveball, so I'm gonna go a little bit on the side. Sure. So I used to teach at the prisons, volunteer to teach at the prisons, in New Jersey, when I was in grad school. And the reason why I do that, is because there are some brilliant kids that are not finishing, high school because they don't, they're locked up and there's no opportunity for them. So we go, from the university, prepare classes, that are at a level that they can actually, take. And if they pass those classes with us, they can get some credit at a neighboring university. I believe it was Ryder University in the neighborhood. So these kids can leave the school and actually be able to get opportunities, to start with towards an associate degree. Because a lot of times, even if they get their high school degree or diploma, GED, in prisons, when they come out, it's very difficult for them to get a job with it. Sure. And so academia, going to college then becomes also more challenging. So Ryder allowed us to be able to do that kind of work, back then. And when I teach some of these students and I try to give them, some of the some exams, I marveled, that they are in prison, so I know, firsthand, in various places that I've taught, that the students are important. They make the institution, and that is the reason why certain institutions continue to be great, because they always get the best students. So it is the students that are making them, rather than the reverse. But so I digress. So my point to them would be, to study to know, and not to pass. And I will tell myself at the time, and it looks like a lot of things have worked in my favor, is what I'm saying, that I'm trying to ground myself. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's something that I planned in a particular way, shape, or form. Not everyone does what they study in college. And I will tell myself that is not, I should make sure that it is not the most uppermost thing in my mind. Oh, I want to be a chemical engineer and I want to work in with the body. I want to do pipeline systems. I want to build refineries. Let's just throw all sort of things out there. 90% of people are not doing what they studied in college, or what they may actually decide that is something that but what's important, nevertheless, is that college education is important, because it prepares you for whatever it is that you're going to do in the world, and it prepares you for the corporate world. Every student, so I will tell an anecdotal story to complete this. I had a couple of parents come to me and they said, our child does not want to go to college anymore. They don't think that college is important. So this kid is about 19 years old. He's saying, I can study all of this from books. And so the parents came to me and said, can you help us tell him you're an academic, help us tell him that school is important, that we are paying for it. So I told them, I said, well, I think your child may be right. And they're like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, you're not making sense now. Now you're trying to tell us not to. So, but you went to school. What are you talking about? I said, but I wanted to just ground them in something that I think school is important. What school teaches us. Of course, everything that I learned, I can learn in school. In fact, I always joke with my friends, and I don't think it's a joke really, that if I was given 4 or 5 years, to travel the world, that I will travel the world and get a PhD at Princeton, which is what I did. I'm sure a lot of people may go against that, but I felt like I would learn a lot, from experiences and interaction with people, and a lot of the things that I'm studying, I can actually study in books. It doesn't take away the research principles that a doctorate education has given me. That's completely different. So I'm taking that out of it. So when I look at a school system, you go to school, you take 5 classes, 4, 5 classes, 6 classes, 7 classes sometimes that subject that you've not seen before. You are expected to learn them within a certain period. You're expected to take exams on them. You're expected to work in teams, to present in teams. You're expected to, and at the end of the day, you're expected to go and understand all of this. Find textbooks or find resources that can help you, to put you in a good position so you can appropriately pass the class. And then next semester, rinse, repeat. That's exactly what the corporate world is. In the corporate world, you're thrown in projects that you've never seen before. And sometimes it may be something just a curveball. And then you have to work in teams to be able, you have time, it's time bound. And all of those is what the academic environment is preparing you for. If you study at home and you're just doing it on your own, you might not necessarily have that discipline and that structure. And the corporate world is somewhat structured. So I told them, I said, this is something so that's what I would tell myself. And that's what I would tell, high school child or high school kid or somebody who is just going to college, that this is important. The last point I'm going to tell myself is that it is extremely critical that you make yourself as versatile as possible. It is very easy, for everybody to just go and study something that is, I want to study mechanical engineering. I want to study chemical engineering. You just go to school, you study chemical engineering, and that just like everybody else. When I'm interviewing candidates, you know what I tell them? What makes it different from the other chemical engineer that I just interviewed? Right? How are you special? And one of the things that they bring to the table, or that they bring to the table, should be one where they can tell me, when I was in school, I took a different kind of class. I took one subject here, one subject there, because I feel like I can expand. It allows me to be able to look at this candidate and say, this person is interested in expanding, their tentacles, spreading their tentacles beyond what their immediate course of study is. So when I was in school, I tried a bunch of that. They worked very well for me. As a chemical engineer, I took a lot of philosophy classes, psychology classes, math, and so on and so forth. And I think they bring me to, they make me whole to the extent that when you look at my resume sometimes, people ask, what exactly are you? Right? So you said you have all of this stuff. And I think that makes someone, better than what. So those would be my advice to myself, if I were looking at myself 20 years ago.
That's awesome.
I love
That's a
it.
great answer.
It's phenomenal, and it's phenomenal insight for any young person, right? At this day and age, especially to hear those words and to think about. I'm blanking on the word that you used right now, but a diversity of experience and skills, right? Like that's bringing that to the table is incredibly important for a young person in this day and age. So I love that. We're getting near the end of our interview. I want to ask you kind of a fun question, and I think I know the answer.
Oh, it's not been fun all this time. That was fun for me. But okay, sure.
Tim,
well, yeah, whatever makes you happy.
Right,
I'm here to make you happy.
Listen. This has been a joy, okay? I was going to say this has been a joy. But here's a fun question, and I think I know the answer. I think I know the answer that you're going to say. If you had a magic wand right now and you could wave it and jump into any profession right now, what would you choose and why? And I'm debating about whether or not I should see if I can answer it before you do.
I have to think about it. So you may want to give me an answer. Let me see what it is that you're going to come up with.
I think I know what you're going to say. I think you are, I don't know your team, but I think you are in the Premier League. You would go into the Premier League and you would be a football superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I was good.
That was good, right?
No, I said I was good. But, I was good, and I could have been. Yeah, I could have been good, so that is true. So I have a magic wand and I can do whatever it is that I want.
Whatever you want. Yep.
I think I'll use that magic wand to just travel to everywhere in the world.
All right. A world traveler.
Yeah. What I would do there, maybe I may be playing football in England and then be, playing tennis in a different continent.
I forgot about, yeah.
But I love every sport, and so I tend to be a sports person, through and through. But yeah, I don't think you are far from the truth when you say football or maybe athletics. But I would want to travel the world.
Nice.
Well, listen, if you're doing that world travel, make sure your first stop is Perrysburg, Ohio.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had it actually written down. I didn't tell you. Oh, I should have told you. Yeah.
That's
Ohio.
Trav and
Ohio will be my
beautiful.
yeah. It will be my first place to. I I've already made a
Thank you.
decision. I've already made a decision on that. I don't think that we should be having that conversation.
No, that was easy, right?
Yeah.
So, oh man, well that's great. We have that impact question that we share with all of our guests. I feel like you may have answered it
I think
already
so
when you
too.
spoke
Yeah.
of your experience, being diagnosed with cancer and overcoming that, and what that did for you as a person.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share about an experience or a person that's had a profound impact on who you are today?
Oh my God.
I know I'm kind of throwing that out there, but and it's okay if it you've given us a lot.
Somebody who has made a lot of impact on me.
Yeah, and I know you want to say me, but if you want to hold that back, you can tell me later.
Yeah, yeah. No, I could, I could say, a lot of people, and the reason why I could say that is that I have been. It depends on different the beauty, of the. You can attest to this, and maybe Trav probably can attest to this too. Is that we've been inspired in different facets of our lives, by
Hmm.
many different people, and
Hmm.
so it will be it will be a disservice. Right? So
Hmm.
for me to think, that I can actually just identify and think of someone, that has I would probably be going on recency bias. In which case I would just be looking
Hmm.
at the folks, that I can think of, right away, that are closest to me now, But
Hmm.
there are many people that have inspired me in life, whether it's academia, whether it's socially, physically, emotionally, spiritually, just name it. Financially, there are many people that are inspiring me one way or another, and I think if there is one person that I have to pick, then I would be doing a disservice, to the others, because I would definitely forget some of them. So
For sure.
Hundred percent.
I will just I keep that in my back pocket.
That's
Maybe
totally
maybe maybe
fair.
next time I will start talking. So maybe in the next episode, next in 3 seasons from today, when
Oh,
Tim and Travs, when you guys have become big, then I can come back.
just wait and see,
Yes.
man. Just wait and
Recurring
see.
guest. Recurring guest. I
Yes.
like it.
Well, listen, Yusuf, I just want to end this by saying you're an incredible human being, and I'm just so grateful to know
Thank you.
you. And I'm always inspired by what you continue to do and give to people around
Thank
you.
you.
So it's really really inspirational. And
As I am of you.
yeah, I know.
I was waiting for
Trav,
that.
you want to wrap it up, man? What do you think?
Yusuf,
You
yeah, thank you
cool?
so much. Yes.
I hope you're not like this, Trav. If this is the way,
Oh
it is in Ohio, it's a little work.
no. Oh no. No, no, no. It's yeah. It's a friendship that I've tried to end several times. It just doesn't,
Yeah,
he's like a sock that just keeps coming back in your drawer. But thank you so much. We really appreciate your insights. This was Tim didn't give me a full enough picture of what you were about to talk about. So I'm just sitting here in awe. So if I sound slack-jawed, that's why.
thank you.
This is
Oh,
this has been incredible, and I
thank you.
feel very privileged to have spoken to you. So thank you so much for your
Oh,
insights.
thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right,
All
Yusuf.
right.
Stay well. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
man.
Season
All
three.
right.
Season 3.
Season 3.
Cheers. Cheers.
See ya.
All right. So there you go. Thank you to Yusuf for your time and your
Yeah.
insights. That was cool.
Very cool. I just love engaging with him. He's just such a cool guy.
For sure.
He reminds me a lot of myself.
And now you've insulted him. Hey, speaking of your trials and tribulations, can we jump into your dog therapy moment?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't think we have a choice, right? So here's what I'm gonna. Look, things continue on the same path. Two quick stories. We were away over the summer at one point, and we had our dog Abby was boarded, right? So I'm just giving you an honest experience here, right? We came back from the vacation. I'm driving to go pick her up, and I'm just not feeling it. Like I'm on my way. I'm like, I feel terrible saying it.
You're
Yeah, I was
dreading to
dreading
go
it.
get Abby. Okay.
Like, that's not good, right? I mean, that's a problem.
It's not a great sign.
No, it's not a good sign. And I'm being authentic. Like, I wish that I really wish that I didn't feel that way, but I was dreading it. And I get her, and she's so happy, and I'm glad she's so happy. I don't think she cares to see me. She's happy with any human. And I get her in the car, and they're like, when I'm checking her out, they say, we'll just put this on the credit card. And I was like, yeah, of course, we have a credit card on file there. So I'm at a stoplight, and I just pop up on my phone real quick, and I'm kind of just like, and then there's this invoice from several $100s.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
No, and I was just like, what? None of this feels right? So that was just sort of like, it's awful. I wish.
This feels right.
I wish.
That's the name of the podcast from now on.
Yeah,
None of this feels right.
That's our listener opinion, right? That's kind of... So I had that, but here's what where I'm at right now, and here's what I believe to be is a genius idea on my part. I think what would be the ideal situation for me, and I'm not speaking for my family, I'm speaking for myself. I don't want to be a full-time dog owner. Okay, now bear with me. I'd like to be a part-time dog owner. Did I already talk to you about this?
No.
So what about an app where I can go on, and I think that you and probably the majority of listeners are going to disagree with me, but where I can have Abby for 6 months out of the year. So I share Abby with another loving family who will take equally as good of care of her as we do. We do take good care of our dog, by the way. I see you sort of like not into this so far. For those people who are not watching on video,
Yeah,
Travis is already against this, I can tell. But
this is my skeptical but giving you the benefit of the doubt look. Keep
yeah,
going.
and I'm not exactly sure of this either. But what about an app where people who don't want a full-time commitment to an animal, be it a dog, be it a cat, be it a gerbil, can now share their animals with other families who also don't want a full-time commitment? What do you think of that idea? Is it brilliant or not?
I don't know, man. The idea of sharing my dog sounds awful, but
sure, yeah, and I don't think that you would be a person who would participate in this program.
Do you think there are other people that have this problem?
I haven't
Truly?
met anybody yet. I have not met... Look, if someone came to me today and said, Tim, I would love to take Abby, so we switch every 2 months, whatever, right? It's not 6 months on, 6 months off. I think that she and I think I'm a part-time dog person. That's all.
Interesting.
And I think
so let me ask you, when you were on vacation and you were boarding her for thousands of dollars, did you enjoy not being around her?
Let me answer that by saying she didn't come to mind too often.
So you weren't like watching the closed camera thing or anything like that.
I don't know how to even access that.
So you didn't even look into it.
No, I trust that she's in good hands and that she'll be fine.
Yeah, that's not what you thought.
Do you think that's wrong?
No, that's why I asked. I was just curious if you actually missed the dog, because I think that's very telling. Absence in the heart and all that.
Yeah, and no, I did not. I didn't feel a whole lot of remorse being away from her.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, Abby's up for adoption. Everybody, if anybody wants to.
This whole thing is making me feel like a terrible person. I think at the end of the day,
that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Some people love animals and some people just don't. And I'm wired a certain way to not. And I'm not exactly sure why that is.
I'm just glad there are other people in your household that actually care for her. Otherwise, I'd probably be driving to Jersey.
I do so much for that animal. I'm the main walker. I get her out for runs. We do spend a lot of time together.
I think you just resent her.
Well, let's talk about that more at another point.
Sounds good. Now that we've killed your idea of this dog sharing,
hold tight. No, hold tight. I would love for our listeners to write in to let us know whether or not they think it's a great idea, because I actually do think I'm onto something.
All right. Well, maybe we'll put a poll on our Instagram.
That would be amazing. That'd be amazing. I most of my ideas tend to not have any legs, but for some reason this one seems like it may. So I'd love to hear
Yeah.
some feedback.
All right. Well, we'll see what people have to say.
All right, mister.
All right, man. That was a good one.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you. And thank you to Yusuf for your time and your insights. Appreciate that. And like and subscribe, everybody.
Sounds
Thanks, Tim.
cool. Yeah, thanks, Trav. Take care.
Tim and Travis on the mic, talking life and what's alike. Middle age, it's quite the ride. Finding joy and chasing pride. Career dreams and daily grind. Funny moments that we find. Letting go of yesterday, making paths along the way. Middle age. Middle-aged mayhem breaking free, finding out who we can be, laughing, learning all the time. Tim and Travis in their prime. Every step a brand new plan, older, wiser, still we stand, navigating through the years, sharing stories, laughs and cheers. Middle-aged mayhem breaking free, finding out who we can be, laughing, learning all the time. Tim and Travis in their prime. Every step a brand new plan, older, wiser, still we stand, navigating through the years, sharing stories, laughs and cheers. Middle age, enjoying the fun, middle age has just begun. Tim and Travis lead the way, every episode will slay.
I can't hear anything.
I think you're just trying to mess with me.
Talk now.
Jerk.
Hold on.
Hey, he found the button.
Yeah, I think there was the X through the speaker. Don't tell anybody.
I'm not telling anybody, even though we're recording.
Oh, we are? Good.
Sweet.